Good morning for those that are joining us from the morning side of the time zones, and good afternoon for those that are joining us on the other side of the day. My name is Marissa Nobauer. I'm Director of Reconciliation, Community Engagement, and External Relations here at TELUS, and I have the privilege of being able to facilitate this phenomenal conversation today with the Moose Hide campaign, as well as supporters and sponsors, to help everybody understand ways in which they can participate through their organizations. I am calling in to you today from the gray but very, very green unceded territory of the Coquitlam people here, also known as Coquitlam. And as I look out the window, I can see Burke Mountain, which is part of the territory of the Coquitlam, but is also part of the watershed of the Coquitlam Lake and the Coquitlam River, which the peoples have stewarded since time immemorial. And I have the privilege of spending time on with my son and my husband. Wherever you're calling in from today, I hope you take the time to reflect on whose lands you're on, and the innate connection that we all have to the land. In order to start our session off in a good way, I would like to introduce Barb Ward-Burkett, who is joining us today to provide an opening prayer. Barb, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Marissa. Danse dotimak nia wahia kuapdasko sagaswian. I've just said hello, my relatives. My traditional name is Ceasefire Woman. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories that each of us are standing upon this morning across Turtle Island, and acknowledge the caretakers of these sacred lands this morning. And would like to now do a prayer. O Great Spirit, creator of all things, the higher power of our understanding, we ask, Creator, that you hear our prayer, our humble prayer this morning, no matter in which way we pray, because we've all got our own values and our own beliefs. We ask, Creator, that you be here amongst us, that you shine your light down upon each and every one of us, Creator, as we go into this conversation, as these conversations can be really challenging. So we ask, Creator, that you just have your hand on our shoulders as we walk through these conversations. We'd like to thank you at this time, Creator, for our journey over the night, and thank you for our visions and our dreams. And thank you as well, Creator, for the challenges that you place before us each and every day, as those challenges help us to be the people that we are, and help to give us the strength and the courage to walk through our lives each and every day. We'd like to ask, Creator, and give thanks for the food that we will eat today and the sacred water that we will drink to nourish our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. And we'd like to ask, Creator, for a collective prayer, and sending all of the energy from everybody that's on this call to all of the vulnerable people that are in our communities, those that are sick and in hospitals, or sick in other places, those that are in prisons, those that are on the streets, and those that are in compromising positions and places that make them unsafe. And especially thank and acknowledge all of the elders and give thanks for the wisdom and the knowledge that they share with each and every one of us each and every day. And we ask this in your name, Creator, to all my relations. Exe.
Thank you, Barb, for opening us up in such a good way. I've known Barb for, 5 years now, and every time I get on a call with Barb, the way in which she reminds us all of how we sit in relation to one another but also bringing us back to why we do this work and bringing us back to why the Moose Hide campaign exists to support those most vulnerable people. I'm so thankful that you started us off in a good way. And I'll reiterate what Barb shared. This is a difficult conversation. So for those of you that may be triggered through this conversation, please know you can step away. Please look after yourselves both through this conversation and afterwards. So with that, I am thrilled to talk about what we're going to be talking about today. So if we can move to the next slide there, we have a really packed agenda, but a really exciting agenda. So we're going to talk about the intentions of the Moose Hide campaign and what we're hoping to get out of today's session. We're going to hear from Raven Lacerte, who's the executive director and co-founder of the Moose Hide campaign, as well as Barb Ward-Burkett, who is joining us today in her position as well as executive director of the Prince George Native Friendship Center. We're then going to move into a panel discussion with Amanda Enns, head of Indigenous talent from BMO, and Mayan, director of reconciliation strategy at Scotiabank, as well as Raven and Barb, to help us really talk about what are the ways in which our organizations can get involved in Moose Hide campaign, from big and small, and hopefully inspire everybody on this call on terms of things that they can take away to actively implement into their organizations. So that takes us into what are our intentions for today's session. So we are really looking forward to sharing our learnings with you and to shine a light on how partnerships with the Moose Hide campaign have evolved over time. You know, when TELUS joined the Moose Hide campaign about 4 years ago, we started small. We started just in British Columbia, but over the past 4 years have broadened across coast to coast to coast across these lands. And everybody joining us today is going to have similar stories of the ways in which they've implemented it. And I really want to inspire you to think about what are the small steps that you can take today. Really want to encourage everybody on this call to think about what is your personal role, but also your organization's role in responding to the 231 calls for justice, and what your role is in ending gender-based violence. It affects all of us. Healthy masculinity in the workplace, in our homes, is what will set the stage for us all working together in a better way through the future. And then lastly, we really hope that this conversation inspires you to work with the Moose Hide campaign, not just on campaign day, not just in the months leading up to campaign day, but all year round. Like I said, working with Moose Hide campaign has been one of the privileges of my career so far. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Raven Lacerte, who is the co-founder and executive director of the campaign, to share more with us about the campaign, where it started and where it's going. Raven, over to you.
Thanks, Marissa. Hadit, Raven Lacerte Sudney, Loretta Madam Slew, Paul Lacerte Spa, Saigana Lachshabu Injan Yinkakdene Keoch, Tabasna Chalia Injan Lekwangin Keoch. Good day. My name is Raven Lacerte. My mom is the late Loretta Madam, and my dad is Paul Lacerte. I am Carrier. I'm a member of the Lake Babine Nation and belong to the Bear Clan. I am joining you today from the Lekwungen lands, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and I'm a mom. I've got 2 very precious little girls. Cedar is 6, and Choss, our little one, just turned 3, and her name means grizzly bear in our language. And I'm partnered with Dominic Paul, a member of the Sartlip Nation. So bring my whole family into this circle and share who I am, from who I come from and who I am in connection with. So, and I'm the co-founder and executive director for the Moose Hide campaign. I am so honored to be here today, to be in this circle with each of you. I first want to start by thanking Barb for the opening prayer, and for supporting me and this work for as long as I can remember. I'm very grateful and honored to be in this circle with you today, Barb. I might need to just take like one deep breath and maybe we can all do that together. I'm feeling lots of emotions today. So maybe we can just take one deep breath in and out. Um, I'll share, I think, maybe the story of my dad and I starting the Moose Hide campaign together. We started this work in 2011, and I was 16 years old when we first got this idea. And I really wanted to do something about the amount of violence that is happening to women and children and those along the gender continuum in this country every single day. And for me, as an Indigenous woman, really understanding the violence that's happening towards Indigenous women in this country, knowing that our precious ones are experiencing harm and some of them losing their lives to the harm that's happening in this country. And I want to do something about it. I wanted to be part of a positive solution. My family wanted to do something to bring more love and hope and healing into these spaces so that Indigenous women and all women and children and those along the gender continuum and all of us can experience that love and that safety where there's nothing but love and respect at all times, and that people don't have to live their life in fear. And so it was while we were out on a hunting trip along in our home community, right where the Highway of Tears is, that we got a moose. And it was just my dad and I out there that morning and talking about, what the Highway of Tears is, those precious people that have lost their lives, talking about the violence all the way from those microaggressions all the way to that homicide, and really wanting to just do something. And it felt like that was a moment of inspiration, of medicine, of love, of healing. And we were inspired to use the moose hide, the hide from that moose that we got that morning, and tan it up and cut it up into a bunch of little squares and ask people to wear it. And so we did that. We ended up cutting up the first 25,000 squares of moose hide, and we hand wrote on little like index cards about what it is that we were trying to do, and just started handing them out and talking about it. It's one of those things, violence so often thrives in the shadows. And what we want to do is help to be part of the large group of people that are already out there and have been out there trying to bring this conversation out of those dark places and into the light. And we wanted to be part of that. And so it just started to grow from there. People started saying, I really want to wear this. I want to be part of this conversation. I want to bring this medicine to my spaces. I want to bring it to my family, to my partner, to my schools, to my organizations, to my governments. And it just started to spread. This medicine really has taken root in communities across the country. And it's so incredible to see the leadership and the the willingness to be in these spaces, to have these conversations, to wear a piece of moose hide every single day as an everyday reminder that we don't want to do violence in our lives, that we want to be part of that positive solution, and that it's up to every single one of us to be part of that change. And so since 2011, when we first started, we've handed out just over 7 million squares now of moose hide pins to people from across the country that are ready and willing to take that stand, to make that commitment and to bring this medicine into their spaces. The other piece to the campaign really is a day of ceremony. So Moose Hide Campaign Day, it's on May 15th this year. And we want to invite you all to be part of that and to bring the ceremony aspect into our circles in a way that makes sense for each of us. And so we do a 1-day fast. In our way, we normally do 4 days and 4 nights. And so this is an opportunity, I think, for people to come into an Indigenous-led ceremony, if that makes sense for you. And I know that fasting means so much for other folks too. So however that means, it's more than welcome to come and be part of the day with us. And our hope is to be able to get to a day where we have 1 million people fasting together on the same day, with this day surrounding it where we have workshops and keynotes and skill building and connection building, so that we can make that change that we so desperately need. We need our women and our children to have that chance, that opportunity to live that life free of violence. And so many beautiful things can come out of that. And so I think that for today, my emotions are very high today. I'm feeling a lot of gratitude for this opportunity, for this sponsors summit. When I think about, BMO and TELUS and Scotiabank sponsoring the Moose Hide campaign, and then coming forward and saying, we want to talk about the impact that this work can have in their spaces and want to share that out with the world. Okay. Is not a small thing. It's really, really a huge deal to me and to this work, and to so many women in this country that are experiencing that violence today. And to know that every conversation, every action that is taken is moving us towards this future where we do get to experience that safety and that love and that respect and that reconciliation and that future that I think we all really want to be proud of. And so for me, for these folks to really believe in this work means more than I can say. And I hope that with this opportunity that we have to speak into this circle today, that folks feel like they have a place in this work with us, and that our hope is to be able to make it really easy and accessible for folks to come and be part of this medicine with us and towards this movement of people that are making a difference. So just really full of gratitude to every single person on this call for taking your time out of your day to come and hear about the campaign and hear about how it might be able to bring some love and some medicine into your circles as well. So really looking forward to our time together today. Thank you all again, Masicho.
Thank you, Raven. And I'll just say, for us, it's a privilege. I'll speak on behalf of Amanda and Maya. It's a tremendous privilege to be able to partner with you and to support the tremendous vision that you had. And I'll just say, in 2023, Moose Hide announced 4 million pins. They went from 4 million pins in 2023 to 7 million pins. It's a tremendous, tremendous, remarkable achievement because of the dedication and the passion that you have poured into making this successful. So this is you and your leadership, and we are so grateful to you for doing this. So I'd like to pass it over to Barb now, who's gonna also share her thoughts on the campaign and gender-based violence. Barb, over to you.
Thank you, Marissa. Just want to start by saying I'm so incredibly proud of you, Raven. I've known Raven since she was a teenager, and I'm just incredibly proud of the work that you're leading as a young Indigenous woman. And just want to thank you for sharing your sacred tears this morning. When you're shedding those tears, that's important. That's really important medicine that we all get to experience as part of what you've shared this morning. So just want to thank you so much for that. I'll introduce myself again. Danse Dotimak. So I've just said in my language, good morning, hello, my relatives. Nia Wahiel Kuapadasko Sagaswian. So my traditional name is Seasfar Woman. I'm Cree from the Fort McKay First Nation in Northern Alberta in Treaty 8 territory, though I've lived most of my life, over 65 years in Northern Alberta. I wear lots and lots of hats, but the hats that I wear that are the most important to me are I'm a mom. So I'd like to bring my son Steve and my daughter Lee into the circle. They've made their journey to the other side as a result of the very thing that we're talking about in terms of abuse and violence, and how that family breakdown can lead to addictions. And so they're watching over us right now from the other side. I'm also the grandma, the proud grandma of 19 grandchildren. And my husband, Jim, and myself have raised 5 of those grandchildren. And so we're down to the final one. We left the best for last, I guess, or the worst, however you want to say it. So Anthony just turned 16 on Thursday. And then Max is 20. Shakira, the only girl that we had in the house, is 23. And Dylan is 28 and is going to be marrying in August, so it'll be our first grandchild that's married, and our oldest that we've raised is Nicholas, who's 32. And I'd like to bring them to the circle because I think that it's so incredibly important to know that our relationships are so important. You know, a lot of the time for Indigenous families and more families across Canada, it isn't traditional households anymore. So, you know, there's grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles and brothers and sisters that are stepping up to the plate and bringing their own family members into their home, into their homes, because that's the way of our people. That's the way that I was brought up. My mom and dad also raised some of their grandchildren as well. And so, you know, I just wanted to bring that into the circle. In my day job, I'm the executive director of the Prince George Native Friendship Center, and I've been in the Friendship Center movement since 1972. So for those that are wondering what's the number, it's 53 years I'm in this year, and I absolutely love my job. I'm so excited to come to work each and every day. It's and I'm excited because I know that the work that that Indigenous organizations do in urban communities is important, and it's rewarding, and it works. And to be a part of that, and to have people that trust and feel safe enough to be able to come through our doors and to seek that help that they need and that support. You know, that's very, very meaningful to me. So yeah, that's a little bit about, you know, and my personal philosophy is I really believe in the empowerment of our Indigenous people, but for other folks as well, and advocacy for community growth. So the Moosehide campaign, what does that mean to me? Well, for one, I received the 5 millionth pin in ceremony, and Paul and Raven came to my Friendship Center, and I was able to receive that. Of all of the things that I've received in terms of awards, was the most important to me, because I believe so strongly in the work that of the Moosehide campaign. And what was really so beautiful about that time was that I got to share that with my family and my community. And so that really was meaningful to me as well. So yeah, I've been a part, as I said, of the Moosehide campaign for a long, long time. I can't even I remember the moose in the territory, the first moose, and have really advocated for the Moose Side campaign in my community. And and what I like about the Moose Side campaign is it's very much what I think a community-driven campaign. So, even though it's went across Canada and around the world, every year, Raven and Paul and their family go back to their home territory, and they shoot a moose, and they do ceremony on the land, and they keep the Moose Hide campaign connected to the land and to that medicine in that way. And so that whole sense and intention of being connected to culture and to ceremony is really important to me. And the other thing that is really important to me about the Moose Hide campaign is that it's a campaign that really is speaking about abuse and violence towards women, but it's also that much more important that it's about lifting up our men. And so, that's really important to me. My son Steve was and he's okay with me sharing this story. We talked about that many times. When he was born and I carried him in my arms, I didn't see that this was a baby that was going to, as an adult male, put violence on women. We didn't see that happening. But we also know that that can happen in our families, regardless of what our intentions are, regardless of the love and support that we pour into our people. And, and we know that the ways of our people through colonialism and through the residential school system, that has created trauma for our people. And so, though, I think of him on the other side and how much pain that created for him, that he was had put that on his partner, and as a result, his children got taken away, which is how we came to be raising them. So again, I guess part of my messaging is that we have to remember to lift up and hold up our men. And so the whole idea of the Moose Hide campaign and encouraging men to speak out about violence against women is just so incredibly important. And so, when I think about the Moose Hide pin, it's not just about wearing that pin, and it looking nice on your lapel. It's giving voice to that pin. It's having the conversations. And so as part of that, it's making that commitment, but that responsibility to finding out about what are the stories of violence against women, going online, doing that research, finding out the numbers so that you can speak in a knowing way, because you never know when that conversation is going to change the lives of people and make a difference in their lives. So, for me, that relationship is really critically important. And I know we're talking to sponsors, and sponsors, might be saying, well, how can we do that? And, we know that we have those institutional structures that are out there that are colonial in nature. But how do we as individuals within those structures take those baby steps forward and become a voice, our own voice, that stands up and says that this is not okay? And so, being able to do that through that cultural grounding, being intentional with what our conversations are, ensuring that those conversations are with love and with lateral kindness. We've heard the phrase lateral violence. Let's turn that on its head and let's talk about lateral kindness and how can we do that? So, and being able to do that through that lens of reconciliation. So that reconciliation is not just a buzzword, right? There isn't any definition that fits everybody. So we all have a role in that and what that looks like. And so being somebody who's heart-centered. So all of those different things are just really important. And as and a reminder that each of us have gifts. And one of the gifts that we have that will help to spread the word about the Moose Hide campaign is our words. If we can think of our words as medicine, as we're walking through sometimes challenging conversations, because it's not easy to talk about violence against women. That's not an easy thing. But if we can use our words with intention and kindness and love, and always remember that those words that we're sharing are medicine, then that will help us to spread the word across the country and to be able to have more and more sponsors that want to step up to the plate and to have a part of this important work. And I guess I'll just leave. I guess we, by saying we never ever know the story of the person that's sitting right next to us. So we never ever know if that woman or that grandma or that young person, the things that might be going on in their lives. And, and I think that it's just really, really important. And for me, as a survivor of domestic violence, doing this work is not work. It just has become a part of my life. It's become a part of the lives of my families. It's become a part of the lives of everybody that works here at the Friendship Center. It's become a part of the lives of people that are in our community, because I believe very strongly in sharing that medicine with people about the Moose Hide campaign. And so with that, as an elder, I could just keep on talking, but I think that I will stop there. Exe, all my relations.
Thank you, Barb. As an elder, you have free reign. You're always so generous with yourself and sharing your experiences and your lived experience. And I'm always so grateful for that generosity. And I hope those of us on the line today who have the privilege of listening to Barb recognize the tremendous gift of generosity Barb has given to us today. So I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. Barb, you set it up so well. It's about being in relationship to one another. And the work that we do, the work that Moose Hide campaign does, is about being in relationship to one another at home, one another at work. And we all have a role to play in that. And we received a number of questions coming into today's session, and that was probably the number one question was, how do I get my organization involved? How can I get my organization to take meaningful action to support the movement, right? Many people have shared, we've ordered pins, we're participating in the walk and campaign day, but I don't know how to get involved in the campaign at an organizational level in a more meaningful way. And so what I'd love to hear from Amanda and Mayan first is, how did you get your organization to participate in the Moose Hide campaign at that corporate level or at that leadership level to support a more integrated approach? So Amanda, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Marissa. Tanse Megasuasqueo Nitsiga soon. My name is Amanda Ans, and I'm privileged to be calling in from Tsuut'ina Nation in Alberta today. I want to thank you all for inviting us to participate in this conversation, and thank you to the many new faces and names that I see on the participation list today. I think that in terms of getting BMO organized and involved in the campaign, we talked a lot about how an investment in the Moose Hide campaign for BMO is actually an investment in Indigenous employees. I would say that Indigenous employees can feel seen and can feel that they're in a working environment that is supportive when they see their non-Indigenous colleagues wearing Moose Hide pins. It's an investment in education for our organization. Allies that are supporting the campaign now may have been previously unaware of the disproportionate amount of gender-based violence in this country, along with the disproportionate amount of violence inflicted upon Indigenous women. And so sharing that that feedback with our organization and saying that there's an opportunity for us to get involved was an important piece of the puzzle. The Moose Hide campaign has done a lot of work in terms of determining what the pin represents and the conversation that it sparks. So we know that every Moose Hide pin worn can spark 5+ conversations on gender-based violence. Last year as an organization, we distributed 11,000 pins. So using the evaluation tools provided by the Moose Hide campaign, we can estimate that through 1 year of participation in the campaign that we've hosted over 50,000 conversations on the topics. Conversations on gender-based violence, which is, you know, in my opinion, at an unacceptable level in this country, is a reason for an organization like BMO to get involved in the campaign. And our leaders in our organization recognized that and wanted to participate because the Moose Hide campaign, you know, makes it really easy for these conversations to happen. They made it easy for us to understand the impact that we can have as an organization. And I'm looking forward to talking to you more about some of the ways that we've activated the campaign, but I think those were the big determining factors for deciding to get involved in the campaign as a formal sponsor.
Thanks, Amanda. That investment in employees is so important, both in terms of supporting Indigenous employees to being seen, and that the organization is really invested in conversations that affect them, but also on the flip side, bringing in, going back to what Barb said, bringing in people in that lateral kindness conversation to be part of that conversation and that tremendous opportunity it has. Mayan, I'm curious from your perspective, what are some of the ways Scotiabank has brought it in?
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Barb, so much for your generosity and for getting us started in a good way, and for your prayers. And Raven, I just want to acknowledge you for your spirit and your loving leadership. It's already been said here, but I personally am so proud to walk this path with you, and Scotiabank is equally so proud to be a partner. And we thank you for accepting us into this circle. We don't take that lightly. I'm calling today from Treaty 13, Takaranto, where not only is it a blizzard, snowy blizzard, but it sounds like a thunderstorm blizzard. But I actually find the snow so comforting. And, you know, as has been talked about, this is a very difficult subject, but it is such an important conversation. And I feel like the snow just brings a cleansing and a welcoming and a warmth that I'm going to propel into this conversation. So as it relates to Scotiabank, you know, the Moose Hide campaign is a priority for Scotiabank because reconciliation is a priority for Scotiabank. And Barb, you touched on it a little bit earlier, that it is an act of reconciliation. The bank's goal is to reestablish relationships of trust among Indigenous employees and clients and communities. The MMIWG2S plus crisis in this country is one of the ways that colonization continues to be perpetuated. And so as an organization, we can't authentically commit to a journey of reconciliation without taking a stand on this crisis. And, you know, as Amanda pointed out, the Moose Hide campaign is such, the word I use is accessible, but it's more than that. But, you know, it is an accessible way to galvanize an entire workforce and client base as well around the issue of gender-based violence. And, you know, it is also a way for us to unlock dialogue and conversation about the crisis, but then the crisis around the crisis. And, you know, that this is a result of the colonization that continues to be perpetuated. What I learned early with the Moose Hide campaign, Scotiabank has been a partner for a few years now, but it really is the relationship that they seek. And I love it so much. And I do want to point it out because it's such a distinct feature of this organization. You know, whereas a lot of organizations, they want the transaction, they want the check, and then they go off and do their thing. And what's so remarkable about Moose Hide is that they want to work with us and our employees as if we're one big community. And the fact is that we are one big community. And this is an opportunity to work together to build awareness, to engage, to move us as a whole, as a country, towards a place and time where this no longer is a topic. This no longer is a crisis. But I do want to point out to all of the companies that are on the call today that, and you'll understand this, funding matters. There are real and unavoidable operational costs required to ensure that this magnificent organization can continue to scale and do the good work it's doing. And in the early days, and at previous organizations that I've been with, the companies have company is supported in small ways with pins, here and there across the organization. But it would be absolutely so inappropriate not to support Moosehide through funding as a way to ensure that they continue to advance a priority that means so much to Scotiabank. Thank you.
Thanks, Maya, and thanks, Amanda. When I think about combined with TELUS as well, like how many pins our teams have distributed, not only to team members, but to customers from coast to coast to coast. And you think about that stat that Amanda shared about each pin triggering 5 conversations, what impact it really truly can make in this country by each of us playing that role in spreading the message about Moosehide campaign. It's really tremendous. And I was trying to do the math really quickly in my head, Amanda, when you talked about how many you've distributed versus, and how many we've distributed. I think, combined between our 3 organizations, it's almost 250,000 conversations that pin distribution to customers, to team members have sparked around gender-based violence. And it's truly phenomenal what we as corporations, but small organizations can do with those really small actions. And Raven, Maya teed you up really well for this. From your perspective, what, in addition to distributing pins, is Moosehide really looking for opportunities for support on?
Yeah, this is so awesome. I really love talking about hearing, I think, the stories of impact that this is having, that this medicine is having in people's workplaces. Those conversations lead to action. And that action is leading to that change. So when we're talking about those 5 conversations per Moosehide pin, those are conversations that are bringing this issue out of the darkness and raising that awareness. But we really think of it as like a medicine campaign. It's bringing medicine into the spaces where violence so often thrives. And so if for us, we are able to give these pins. We have synthetic pins available as well. So for anyone that doesn't feel comfortable wearing a piece of animal hide, then you can order a synthetic version available as well on our website. And I think that when we're talking about the support that these organizations have been able to offer, means that we are able to keep offering this medicine for free. We've made a forever promise to never charge for the Moosehide pins because they are that medicine. And so it's really important for us to be able to continue to offer that medicine to those that need it most. And so when we're bringing this work into these workplaces, being in that partnership, knowing that the folks that are coming into this work really believe in it internally as well, bringing this medicine internally, that it's not just a check mark to say that you've done the reconciliation thing or that you've done your part. It's that you really care about it and that you care about your employees and the workplace and all of those that are coming to each of your institutions. And so making those changes internally and together is such a huge piece. When we think about how many people are able to come to Moosehide Campaign Day, to have those conversations, to make those changes internally in our own lives, and inviting each other into these spaces in a good way where it's not about blame or shame, then that's where that magic happens. That's where those changes happen. That's where that safety increases. And so the more people that can be out there calling each other in, the more people can see that every single one of us needs to be part of this change together. And so enabling support for us means that we can be able to continue to like be in partnership and in relationship in a really good way, so that we can continue to offer this medicine and be in those important relationships together.
Thanks, Raven. I think, it's really important for people to remember, like what Raven has said about they don't charge for the pin, right? The generosity of the Moose Hide campaign in being able to send you pins. So for those on this line who have requested pins, they don't charge for those pins, but in order to continue doing the work that Moose Hide does, Moose Hide will, need that financial support. So I think it's really important for us as individuals or corporations or nonprofits or others to think about what are the ways in which we can support the reciprocity with the Moose Hide campaign. Some of us can support reciprocity from a financial perspective. Some of us can support in reciprocity by using our loud voices to share this more broadly, by bringing on our partners, right? For those on the line that have vendor partners or people that they procure with, how are you bringing them in the campaign? How are you sharing this with them so they start participating, right? We all have ways in which we can do it, which actually brings me into my next question is I'd love to hear from everybody, or what are some proof points? What are some things that you have done within your organizations that to help share about the Moose Hide or change messaging around gender-based violence within your organization specifically? Because people go, okay, I got a pin and I'm going to Moose Hide campaign, but what else can I do? So I'd love to talk a little bit more about tangible things, Amanda and Mayan, that you guys have done, and then Raven and Barb, that you have seen other organizations do. So maybe I'll start with Mayan this time.
Sure. Hi, thank you for that question. There's quite a bit to it. I think the key for us has been to grow gradually. And I want to acknowledge that unofficially, support for Moose Hide campaign has been growing for a number of years throughout Scotiabank, through the wearing and sharing of pins and through walks, engagement with our Indigenous employee resource groups. So, really in recent years and through our team, we've been there just to maybe to formalize efforts, identify where the successes, the grassroots movements have been, and start to bring it together. I think tone from the top really matters. And early on in 2023, we engaged our CEO on this, explaining the why behind this work is so critical. It's actually the way we scale, is to enforce the why at every stage of engagement through our stakeholders. And he was very, very supportive of what we were trying to accomplish and the why. Gradually we've worked to engage more regional teams in our branch network. Last year, we were able to distribute 35,000 pins across our branches. If you are a company that has a retail location located in communities, that's an incredible way to leverage those retail locations to build awareness and engagement. We also really do rely heavily on our Indigenous employee resource group, of whom are made up of hundreds of Indigenous employees and allies from across the organization and coast to coast to coast to do the work for us, to guide the thinking, the strategies. And then we also more recently made sure that it was captured in our Truth and Reconciliation Action Plan that was launched in late fall. And why that matters is because we need to make sure that this work is rooted in a key priority of the bank, and that there's legacy to it. And one of the ways for those who are in the midst of creating similar action plans, making sure that there is consideration for this crisis, and consideration around partners that can help address this crisis is key. And I think the last piece is really just learning, taking the time to do it slowly and thoughtfully, methodically. We are in a multi-year partnership with Moosehide. I don't see an end, but knowing that we will come back year over year, that we will develop strategies throughout the year, allows us to just be patient and move with that, that balancing that urgency and patience at every step to make sure that we're doing work that is meaningful, that is driving impact, but knowing that we don't need to solve for everything at once.
Thanks, Maya and Amanda.
Yeah, thanks, Maya. And I would say there's lots of parallels between our organizations in terms of, how we've been able to activate and make sure that our employees feel connected to the campaign, our customers, the communities that we're in. We too used our branch network, 850 branches, including the 13 First Nation branches that we have, to make sure that frontline or customer-facing staff were wearing their pins and had been properly trained on what the pin means and how they could speak to customers about it, especially because there's this, there are conversations that could be triggering that are related to gender-based violence. So we were able to educate a large group of employees through the distribution to all of those locations. And I would say that some of those locations are small communities that, the campaign may not be able to reach without support from an organization like ours or from organizations like the ones that are on the call today. We tried to make it really easy in terms of social media campaigns that employees could easily engage in to facilitate knowledge sharing and increase awareness. I have to give a lot of shout outs to a number of my colleagues who are on the call today, who did a ton of work to activate the campaign within our organization from a communications perspective and from a branch network activation. I would also say that, beyond the environment that I'm working in, we're creating so many advocates within the organization on how to support the campaign. We also leveraged our Indigenous employee resource group, and we're so thankful that we had Raven join us for a conversation with a number of employees, and we're planning to do that again this year. Interestingly, we had a number of colleagues from our US locations who joined in on the conversation that we hosted with Raven last year. And, the campaign really is focused on Canada and the issues that are happening in Canada, but we know that those issues exist south of the border as well. And so it was great to have colleagues in the United States who were able to learn more about the campaign and then, request pins and potentially start a movement in another country. I think that was a really important part of our activation. Beyond the working environment, I would say, I as a longtime supporter of the campaign, I wear my pin everywhere that I go. So I'm having conversations in environments that are not just boardrooms, right? There's, when you're in a grocery store or, at your kid's school or sporting venues for my life. I would say I've had so many conversations with people who I would not have typically had conversations with, just by wearing the pin. And I'd also say that I've been privileged to have a lot of conversations with male leaders about healthy masculinity as a result of the Moosehide campaign. So personally, I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by men in my life that model healthy masculinity. And I don't think that everyone knows what the definition of healthy masculinity is. And in fact, in some of the conversations that I've had with male leaders in my organization, we've been able to sort of push the envelope on what that means and understand how this campaign can contribute to conversations that are about healthy masculinity. So I think that's been another really important part of the campaign and a piece of our activation from a BMO perspective.
Thanks, Amanda. I'll just add one thing. One of the things that we've done internally is host little small 8 to 10 person sessions on talking about healthy masculinity, and Moose Hide campaign was very helpful in providing us some guiding questions, but we put the onus on the men to organize them. So we put the onus on the men within our organization, and men can organize, you guys. It's not just the women. And we hosted, I think, 8 to 10 across the country, small 8 to 10 little person sessions where we talked about what is healthy masculinity, what is a world in which you see this, where you want to go to, right? And it was really a great conversation to have men leading that conversation. And so that's one other tangible way that we did in our 3rd year of partnership, right? So after, several years of learning and listening. So we have about 3 minutes left. This is a conversation that can go all day. So Raven, Barb, I want to give you final words before we turn it over to Natasha with the calls to action.
Barb, do you want to share any last words?
Go ahead, Raven.
Okay.
If it's 3 minutes, I'd rather give them to you, my love.
Thanks, Barb. And I would like to pass them to Tabitha. I think really just Tabitha is our person on our team. And I just want to end with calling my dad into this circle, who's just been such a huge piece of this work. And so really sending all of my love to him and to our team. We have such an incredible team that just is working so hard to be able to continue to offer this medicine and invite you into these spaces. So over to Tabitha, who's the person that you hopefully can be in contact with after this call today. Thank you all very much. Masicho.
Thank you, Raven. And thank you, Amanda and Maya Ann and Marissa and just everybody. I'm looking at the number of people in this call, and my heart is just overflowing, knowing how many places this conversation is going to. Yeah, we have just 1 minute left, but our hope is that this is just one more step on our journey together. I just want to make the biggest, warmest invitation to continue the conversation with us. Reach out to me. I believe Natasha will pop my bookings link right into the call here. My job, I'm the Community Engagement and Development Director for the Moose Hide campaign. My job is to support partners in bringing the campaign into their space in a way that's meaningful and authentic in their space. Knowing that this work isn't just possible, that it's already happening, just gives us such hope and inspiration that it can just keep growing, keep continuing. And just know that we're here to support you wherever you are on your journey with your organization and your space. Our team's here to support you. And it, as Mayanne was saying, it truly is our hope to be in relationship and to move forward together. So my email is on there, outreach@moosehidecampaign.ca. Please reach out. Let's have a conversation and support the work you're already doing and find ways to bring the medicine into your space. Thank you so much for joining us. I really look forward to the next time our connections cross. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. Apologies. Mistake there. And you know what? You can become a sponsor in a big way and a small way, right? Sponsorship doesn't always have to mean a huge partnership, right? If you need to start small, start small. So think of all the different ways that sponsorship could mean for you. My hands are up to Raven and Tabitha, Natasha, the whole Moose Hide team, Barb for setting us off in such a good way and for your ongoing guidance. And just a huge thank you to the folks behind the scenes that made this happen. Jen Houghton on my team, Natasha on the Moose Hide campaign team, all the folks from BMO and Scotiabank that so generously gave of their time to make this happen. Without this amazing network of folks behind the scenes, none of this would happen. So thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a great day and finds a way in which they can participate in the Moose Hide campaign.
And thank you to you, Marissa, and your leadership and partnership in this. Bye, everybody.
Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks all.